Well, I want to start out with thanks and gratitude. I want to thank District Attorney John Flynn and his assistant district attorneys for doing a tremendous job in prosecuting this horrific case and helping the wheels of justice turn very swiftly in this instance. I want to thank Police Commissioner Gramaglia and the members of the Buffalo Police Department for responding so swiftly to this crime and preventing further loss of life. If not for the very quick response of the Buffalo Police Department, it was the intent of this individual to kill more black people, to take more black lives, and the Buffalo Police Department prevented that. This clearly was an act of domestic terrorism motivated by hate. And clearly, this individual was guilty. We all saw it. The individual broadcast it. They put it on social media. As District Attorney Flynn said, he pled guilty. There was never any doubt of what the outcome of this sentencing was going to be today. Police Commissioner Gramaglia and I were in the sentencing today. We wanted to support the members of our community, the families of the victims, the 10 precious people who were killed, the 3 others that were wounded. We wanted to be there to support them, and we wanted to be there to have eyes on this defendant to demonstrate the strong desire in this community to see justice done. The statements of the family members that spoke were incredibly powerful. If you had any human feeling whatsoever, it was hard to hold it together in that courtroom and not have the tears flow and the emotion flow. The family members, in powerful detail, shared with us the depth of their loss, the magnitude of what was taken from them. Their courage, their ability to speak under these circumstances is just amazing to me. I see the family members and how they have stood up through this, how they have stayed together through this and fought for justice for their family members as nothing short of heroic as well. I can tell you, and the DA alluded to it, certainly what we heard today, the comments of the defense attorney, the comments of Judge Susan Egan in rendering her decision. What happened in this community certainly cries out for sensible gun reform. Why the city of Buffalo has brought a lawsuit against ghost gun manufacturers and members of the gun industry. It cries out for mental health treatment and resources. Thank you to Governor Hochul for putting resources in the proposed state budget for more mental health resources in the state of New York. This cries out for reining in social media. The defense attorney said that this individual was definitely impacted, radicalized by social media. We have to rein that in. We cannot allow hate speech to proliferate on social media. And finally, white supremacy. It is a cancer, it is a horror, and it is capable of motivating people to commit these kinds of crimes in our community. More has to be done to stamp out white supremacy and its proliferation. This mass shooting in Buffalo, we had hoped and prayed that this would be the last one we saw when it occurred May 14th, 2022. Sadly, last year there were hundreds more after Buffalo. This year, already 67 mass shootings in the United States of America. So the DA is right. This is the end of the beginning. There's a lot more work to be done, not just in this community, but all across America. And so I am thankful, again, for the work of District Attorney Flynn and his office. I continue, and all of us continue, to pray for the strength of the families of the victims, that God will hold them up and continue to give them strength as they go through this trauma. And finally, I will say, while these families have been traumatized, our entire community has been traumatized by this, as Judge Egan indicated. It will take some time for all of us to get through the trauma that we experienced on 5/14. But we are a strong community. We are a resilient community. We're a community that stands together in times of difficulty, and we will in this time as well. Thank you very much.
Talk about what's going to happen now with the federal level.
He will be transferred probably tomorrow to federal custody, and then that prosecution will go forward. Again, like I said, I don't have any control over that at all. You know, we don't talk about that at all, and so they will they will then continue the prosecution of their case. But he will be transferred probably by tomorrow into federal custody.
Any potential repercussions with what happened in the courtroom today at all, or was that just handled?
No, there's no repercussions. I told the OCA officers not to charge him, so he will not be charged. This has happened before. You know, that I don't know if the Office of Court Administration has a budget line or not for, you know, damaged property, but you know, people have punched holes in walls before, and you know, we can fix it. And so, you know, obviously, I am, you know, emotions are high. This is a tragic incident that occurred in our city. I'm not going to compound that tragedy by charging someone with criminal mischief. Now, again, let me be clear though. I don't want this can't happen, you know, every day. Obviously, don't let my mercy here on one individual allow others tomorrow or the next day to, you know, attack people in the courtroom or damage courtroom property, because, you know, at some point, I will charge you. All right, so don't let that, don't let today serve as an indicator of my future decisions.
Mayor Brown, Peyton Javon's comments about not wanting his crimes to inspire others, is that empty, or do you think it could have an effect on other wannabe Peyton Javons in the world?
I think his remorse is too little, too late. As was said, the time to be remorseful was when the thought first came into his mind to kill innocent people. The time to be remorseful was when he was driving 2 hours, driving hundreds of miles and over 3 hours to get to this community. That's when he should have felt remorse, stopped himself, and turned around and not done it. So what the defendant had to say today to me is much too little, much too late.
I anticipate that the reason why he said what he said today was to save his life in federal court. That's the only reason why he probably said it, because along with the mayor, agree it's too little too late, but to me, was not hurtful at all,
Could that have an impact, though?
potentially.
And what about with the family members who told us some of them have said that they want him to spend the rest of his life in prison? Others have said they want him.
Again, as a as a prosecutor, again, I can't speak for the feds, obviously, but I can tell you what I do. As a prosecutor, I always, listen to the victims of crimes and get their input. But at the end of the day, it is the prosecutor's decision on whether or not to take a plea, do something at trial, or recommend a sentencing. And so at the end of the day, that will be the federal prosecutor's decision. But, again, I suspect, like I do, they will take input from the family members.
Do you think there's a very good chance he will face the death penalty on the federal level?
I'm not going to comment on that. I have no idea. I have no idea what mechanisms are in place for that. Well, I mean, I know the decision-making authority is not going to happen here in Buffalo. It'll happen in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Justice main building. They will make that call. But I have, like I said, I have no input on that at all, and I have no knowledge of what is going through their minds right now at all, so I really can't comment.
Commissioner Gramaglia, with the emotions of a day like this, was there any heightened sense of alert for your officers and the department just to make sure that nobody would cause any problems being from outside or coming into the community, anything like that?
Yeah, we had planning. I mean, we have, you can see there's a police presence outside, and there's things that you don't see, but, you're definitely right on the emotion part. It was a tough day. This has been tough since May 14th at 2:28 in the afternoon. You'd think that today brings some kind of resolution, and it really doesn't. It was a very hard day, and I commend the family members who were able to actually go up there and face him and say what they had to say, and not to take anything away from the family members that didn't. They're going through so much. They will be going through so much for a long time, but it's a lot on the community. It's a lot, of course, on the family. It's a lot on our officers. It's been a lot that everyone's gone through.
Mr. Mayor, I kind of wanted to get thoughts from you. You were sitting in the front row, so you saw this family member rush the shooter. So from your vantage point, everything you've been feeling, being at the helm of the city, what were you feeling when you saw it? Can you take us through your thoughts?
As has been said, it was a tough day. It was a very emotional day. As mayor, as a member of the community, sitting there, listening to the statements of the family members, it was very painful. Several times I felt like I was going to have to reach for a tissue. It was so painful. Emotions were running incredibly high. I can understand people wanting to rush the defendant. Not the right thing to do. Didn't want to see it happen, but can understand it because this is such a painful thing. This is such a gut-wrenching thing that happened to members of our community and happened to the members of the family of the people who were in the courtroom today. So I understand the emotion that people were feeling.
Over there, Jim.
Without the benefit of the trial, we never got to hear all your evidence. Now that it's been adjudicated, what about the parents? Or were there any other pieces of evidence that your office was able to unearth that spoke to his motivation, to his preparation, to anything that you can reveal now?
Yeah, nothing more has been articulated already. I mean, again, obviously this was all videotaped. He was live streaming it as it was going along. We had obviously the writings that he produced. There were two sets of documents, for lack of a better word. The manifesto has gotten a lot of play, but there was also a second document that he generated as well that was more kind of a compilation of materials than actually, written by him, that again, showed his motivation of hate and his his reasoning, warped it as it may be, of why he wanted to do this. And you don't need a motive, obviously, in a murder prosecution. You want to have one, and we had a motive here all along. We had live stream witness testimony. We had the ballistics. We had the weapon. We had pretty much a slam dunk case from the moment this ended. And again, yeah, there's no real new evidence that came about. As far as the family members are concerned, I know that, during the guilty plea that occurred a couple months ago, one of the family members made a comment that, she heard something on that day for the first time. During the course of a prosecution, you need to hold some things close to your vest as far as what your evidence is, and so, because you don't want it out there. Again, I apologize to that family member, who might have heard something for the first time that was upsetting to them. And the reason for it was not to hide anything from the family at all. It was basically to just, prepare for trial in the event we had to go to court, and not having that evidence out there that could be used by the other side against us or against justice. So by holding things back and by keeping our evidence, somewhat tight to the vest, we're doing that for the family's sake. We're doing that to help the families because we want a guilty verdict.
The photojournalists are working with that.
Yeah.
So he will not go to state prison now and go to a federal detention?
Well, he'll go to federal detention to be held there while the prosecution of the federal case will occur.
And any indication how long that might take?
No, I have no idea. Now, I really don't know, sir. I mean, again, I'm not in the federal courthouse. I'm not in the building. I'm not talking to them at all about what they're doing. So I really don't know. Now, after it's over, so he'll be transferred to the federal facility now for pretrial confinement, for federal purposes. All right. When the federal proceeding is over, then a decision will be made. Will he go? Let's assume they don't go to death penalty. All right, he goes to jail. A decision will be made. Will he go to state prison for the rest of his life, or to federal prison for the rest of his life?
And whose decision is that? That'll be the federal judge?
Well, no, because the state judge ordered them to do that. We'll talk amongst ourselves then on what we feel is the best, path forward. It'll probably be a federal center because they have more resources in the federal detention centers to house him in an appropriate environment.
District Attorney,
Yeah.
we touched on this, but how would you characterize the family's demeanor, and did they cooperate with your process?
Oh, yes. Families have been great. The families were obviously upset that he came into the guilty plea with a haircut, looking like a little boy. The families, felt that was a distortion.
I think he means his family.
I meant his.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. His family. His family was not contacted by me at all. His family. I never spoke to his family at all. His family was cooperative with the investigation, from my understanding, but I never had any contact with them at all. And I thought, I have no idea what they're feeling at all.
Did that say anything to you, that they did not discuss it?
No, because again, we typically don't talk to the defendant's family members in the sense, during the proceedings. They're talked to up front by investigators as far as a gathering of evidence and whether or not they had anything to share as far as evidence is concerned. But once that initial interview process takes place, the defendant's family is never really on our radar to talk to at all because, again, they're on the other side. He's represented by an attorney, and we do all communications through their attorney.
To the best of your knowledge, were they at any of these proceedings for you?
No, they were not. They were not at any proceedings I'm aware of, and they were not there today. Yeah, Claudine.
I just heard, some of the families were saying how they don't believe he acted alone. Can you say with 100% certainty that he acted alone, or did he have help?
I can say with 100% certainty, as I stand here now at 12:38 on February 15th, 2023, he acted alone. Now, again, everything can change. I mean, you get more evidence in the future, something pops up, some witness comes forward and says, hey, oh yeah, by the way, I talked to him a week before. I highly doubt that, because again, we've pretty much dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's, but is it possible, Claudine? Absolutely. Anything's possible. But as I stand here right now, I have no evidence at all that tells me he had any help.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.